Welcome back in. It's a good time to be a freshman. Week 1 saw multiple rookies shine, from Dylan Raiola's debut at Nebraska to the #1 player in the country, Jeremiah Smith, catching 2 touchdown passes for the Buckeyes. 4 out of the 5 players you see highlighted here were ranked 5 stars by very smart people, so we should probably bring them on the show to talk about some of those freshmen that they watched, since they were probably freshmen in high school. So here they are, Director of Scouting Andrew Ivins, another member of our scouting team, Cooper Patagna. Let's start with the game of the week in the SEC between South Carolina and Kentucky. A lot of great pass rushers in this game, but I want to highlight the #2 edge in this last class, which was Dylan Stewart. Coop, what can we expect to see from him on Saturday?
Well, if it was anything like last week, I think we should expect a dynamic performance. I mean, this guy was all over the place. He had tackle for loss. He had 2 forced fumbles, 4 tackles as well. One of the best performances I think we saw over the entire weekend of any freshman. And in case it wasn't a freshman, this guy was a big reason South Carolina won this football game. So Dylan Stewart, a name to know, maybe one of the best pass rushers we've seen from South Carolina in quite some time. You go back to Jadeveon Clowney, Melvin Ingram, those type of guys. This guy is going to have to show up in a big way for South Carolina to have a chance to beat Kentucky.
Coop, I love how Shane Beamer is giving him a chance. You look at that week 1 starting lineup for the Gamecocks. They played 6 true freshmen. Dylan Stewart didn't start, but Josiah Thompson did at left tackle. You had Mazio Bennett, the wide receiver, Michael Smith, the tight end, another kid we liked. Look, Shane Beamer, his tenure there in Columbia, we'll see what happens. It's a key season for him. But I think that cupboard is not bare just with Dylan Stewart. And I always go back to the Under Armour All-American game when we got that final exposure point to Stewart. You saw him in practices. It was like, okay, this frame is ready to go. Turn it on in the actual All-Star game. He had a strip sack fumble as well there. And then he shows up at South Carolina. They add a ton of muscle. I love the matchup against Kentucky. They're starting Gerald Mincy at one of the tackle spots. He struggled last season with elite pass rushers. I think Dylan Stewart, we can already put him in that category.
Let's go to another Dylan Raiola. Big rivalry game this weekend. He joked earlier this week that his dad, Dominic, reminded him that he never lost to Colorado back in the day. So, Coop, what can we expect to see from young Raiola in this rivalry game?
Well, hopefully more what he did last week. He had a great week 1, 19 of 27, threw for over 200 yards in the first half. Nebraska didn't throw for over 200 yards in one game last season, so that just kind of shows the impact that Dylan Raiola has already had on this team. But he was super poised. I love the way that he kind of protected the football. I know Drew's going to mention that he didn't put the ball in harm's way, and I think just adds a different element to Nebraska's passing game that we haven't seen in quite some time. So their ability to go really toe-to-toe with Colorado and Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and that dynamic offense for Colorado, they're going to need Dylan Raiola to step up in a big way. But everything we saw out of this kid under control, I think that was the biggest thing going into week 2 that you got to be excited about if you're a Nebraska fan.
You're right, Cooper. I'm going to bring that up. No turnover-worthy passes, according to the folks at Pro Football Focus there in week 1. I know it was against UTEP, but we saw this from Dylan Raiola when he was at Buford High School. As a senior, only 1 INT over 250 pass attempts. Not only does this guy protect the football, but he'll take a sack. He will take a negative play if he has to, because he doesn't want to risk it. He doesn't want to take too many chances. Emily, what can we expect from him on Saturday night, a game everyone is tuning into? I think we're going to see him throw the football a lot. Look, we know Colorado has an explosive offense. They can score in the snap of a finger. Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, Shedeur Sanders, they want to light up the scoreboard. And I think Nebraska, they're physical. They've been built through height, weight, speed in the transfer portal and high school recruiting. They're going to need to air it out. And Dylan Raiola, we thought coming out, one of the best deep balls we have seen in recent cycles. I think it's going to be on full display Saturday night when the Buffs and Cornhuskers face off.
So Dylan Raiola was the #2 quarterback in this last class, but we are going to be treated to seeing the #1 quarterback in this most recent class when DJ Lagway steps in for an injured Graham Mertz for Florida. Now, this will be the first time that we as a college football public are seeing him play, but I know you two have watched loads and loads of tape of this guy. So, Coop, what are we going to see from DJ Lagway when he makes his collegiate debut?
I think we'll see a little bit of everything. He's a dynamic athlete, a guy that was a three-sport athlete back in Willis High School, but he got better year over year, every major statistical category in high school. That's what I look for in DJ Lagway. I think that's what we're going to see, whether it's short-term, filling in for Graham Mertz, or whether it's going to be a long-term thing. But I think Florida, their offensive line really struggled with a really talented defensive front from Miami. You've got to get the legs involved for DJ Lagway. I think that's going to ease up things for everybody else, especially on the perimeter. But we saw some flashes of what he could be, and a lot of that came via the ground as well. Also, a nice little rapport there with Eugene Wilson, one of the more dynamic playmakers in Florida's offense. So I would see Billy Napier trying to find a way to get his legs under him via the ground game to really kind of ease him in against a game versus Samford. And, you know, this is an audition for the rest of the year. We'll see if Graham Mertz comes back healthy from a concussion. But if DJ Lagway plays well, there's too much on the line for Billy Napier not to go with Lagway as their future starting quarterback for the rest of the season.
What can we expect? I think we are going to see another version of Anthony Richardson there in Gainesville. That was the player comp for us coming out of his senior season. Cooper mentioned it. This is a kid that was the Gatorade National Player of the Year. He went from, a borderline 4-star prospect for us to the #1 quarterback in the country. He threw 59 touchdown passes as a senior. That was a Texas 6A record. He rushed for almost 1,000 yards. Cooper mentioned that offensive line for Florida. I think it's a major, major issue. And DJ Lagway, much like Anthony Richardson a few years ago, he is able to provide some creativity. He can get away from the pressure. And Graham Mertz, he's a really, really good college quarterback. He can process at a high level, but his strength is not extending plays. That is what DJ Lagway can do. I'm fired up to see Billy Napier just kind of let him go. He played, a few series against Miami. I have a hunch and I believe, he didn't know the full playbook. They kind of prepped him for a few different drives. Maybe they were going to get him in the game at some point. So he's going to have the full board in front of him. I'm excited to see what he can do in the swamp because Billy Napier, he's lost 6 straight. He needs something to sell. I think it's DJ Lagway.
Certainly. All right, one more we want to touch on real quick. Texas, big spot for some of their top prospects. They had 5 players in the top 100. So wherever you guys want to go with this, go ahead. Coop, who are you keeping an eye on in this one for Texas?
I'm going to keep an eye on Colin Simmons, a former 5-star edge rusher, and this was a guy that I think played less than 20 snaps against Colorado State in Texas's Week 1 victory. But Pete Kwiatkowski, we've seen what he can do with these type of defensive chess pieces. You go back a year, 5-star Anthony Hill, what they've been able to do with him in a short amount of time. Colin Simmons had some really flashy snaps against Colorado State. I love the way they use him off the edge as a pass rusher. You can also drop him in coverage as a second-level defender. He is a super athletic, versatile type of chess piece for Texas's defense. If they can find a way to get him on the field, even if it's situational in some 3rd and long situations, I'd look for Texas to do that, find a way to unleash this kid pretty early in the season.
Coop, I would put a green sticker on his helmet, right? Put Pete in his ear and just let him tee off against the quarterback. Love that pick. I'm going Ryan Wingo, the wide receiver, our 32nd and last 5-star last cycle. Look, Michigan is loaded on defense. That is the identity of the program. They got a future first-round cornerback in Will Johnson. Guess what? He can only guard one of these guys. We think he's going to be matched up with Isaiah Bond. Remember the name Ryan Wingo. I don't know how the Wolverines are going to handle this arsenal of wide receivers. I think Ryan Wingo could have a big day in Ann Arbor on Saturday.
Ryan Wingo, writing it down. Thank you both.